Chapter 1 Royal Naval Dockyard, Ireland Island, Bermuda, February 12, 1942. Lieutenant Gerald Wolsey shuffled down the quay, his head bent into the chill wind, his thick arms hugging the wooden crate to his chest as if in a passionate embrace. He had no desire to find out what might happen if he dropped the thing. He was no expert with explosives. Likely wind up nothing more than a red stain, and while that was happening to the rest of his countrymen with a gruesome regularity, he was determined to survive this war. His kind generally did. He stopped and hiked the crate up, lifting the weight of it with his thigh, trying to improve his grip on the rough wood planks. He was counting on the fact that the French sentries aboard the submarine had been doing a lousy job ever since he and the other two Brits, Mackay and Mullins, had come aboard. His fellow Brits were a telegraphist and signalman, and Wolsey was the BNLO, British Navy liaison officer, assigned to serve aboard the Free French sub because God knows you couldn't exactly trust the frogs with the Allied naval code books these days. Not even these Free French sailors who claimed allegiance to de Gaulle instead of Admiral Darlan. Free French or not, this crew didn't like the English one bit. But then the feeling was mutual. Most of the time when he boarded the sub, the sentry, if there was one, merely gave him that Gallic look of disdain they all managed so well. As he closed in on the massive boat, Wolsey thought again that she looked a good bit better from afar than she did on closer inspection. Her tall conning tower and topsides were painted the same color as the low, threatening sky, but her bulbous forward gun turret and aft hangar made her appear almost comical, as if she sported some sort of sausage with a tumor. The French had named her Surcouf, after an 18th century privateer, Robert Surcouf. There were those who referred to her as the pride of the French Navy, but they tended to be either frogs or politicians. They didn't know that at 361 feet and 3,250 tons, she was the biggest white elephant on the sea. When they'd assigned him to this boat, his superiors had assured him Surcouf was the first of a new class of radically different submarines, an underwater cruiser with her twin 8-inch guns in that waterproof turret, anti-aircraft cannons, machine guns, 12 torpedo tubes, and a hangar with her own reconnaissance seaplane. But the truth was, she'd been plagued with bloody French design flaws from the first, even before he came aboard. Everything from her electric motors with faulty armatures to the batteries, spilling sulfuric acid and nearly poisoning all the crew, to the hydroplanes that struggled to keep her from rolling when she dove. All had kept this sub returning to shipyards from Portsmouth to Halifax. Though first launched in 1929, she had yet to fire her guns in battle, and the Allies were bloody tired of paying the tab to keep her afloat. Given the number of ships lost to the U-boats the last couple of months, who'd notice one more? As he approached the dark hull, Wolsey nodded to the sentry who, for the first time he could remember, was standing at the base of the gangplank. He tried to will the hands that gripped the crate to look relaxed, yet still hold tight. "Just a box of radio equipment," he had told the captain before he left that morning on the launch to Hamilton to go pick it up. A radio with new frequencies the Germans weren't onto yet. He'd tried to sound as if he knew what he was talking about, all the while being vague enough not to arouse suspicion. "So long as you are back aboard by this afternoon," Captain Lamoureux had told him. They were to sail for Panama on the tide that evening, so he'd promised to shake a leg to make it back to the boat in time. Wolsey smiled at the thought. The captain wanted to make certain he returned to the boat. The fool. The sentry's jersey was wrinkled and stained with what looked like coffee, and the red pom-pom on his cap hung loose by a thread. A cigarette dangled from a corner of the man's mouth. He glanced at the crate Wolsey carried, but he made no move.